Welcome to the program today. Mano Gonzalez here in studio, and we have got a great program for you. We're going to be discussing really the topic of artificial intelligence, which I know can be very confusing, but you're absolutely going to want to stick around for this. Welcome back, and I have the distinct pleasure of being with Joe Horn and Allie Anderson, and we are going to be talking about artificial intelligence. So welcome, everybody.
Hey, Mondo. Good to be here.
Hi.
Thank you.
So for our audience sake, Tom Horn's children here, adult children,
Yes.
and this is the last project that you guys had with Tom. So kind of give us I always like to get the background of how this project came together. So kind of share with us, if you will.
Well, as you know, my dad, Tom Horn, he always would watch the ways that technology could play into the unfolding of end times events. And so at one point over the last couple years, and Joe can tell you more of the circumstances leading up to this point, but he had gone in and actually asked this chatbot if it was part of a complex web of technologies that would eventually help to facilitate the mark of the beast or the image of the beast, or help end times events to unfold. And he kind of expected it to say, does not compute, or here's the scripture that talks about the mark of the beast. And instead what happened was it came back with a 7 bullet point list that basically started by saying, no, artificial intelligence probably isn't going to do that. But if we did, here's how.
Wow.
And then there were 7 points on how it could happen. And so he brought that list to me, and we started to research together and ended up writing this book. And also Joe had come in and collaborated as well.
Later on in the project, And for context, if you're hearing her say that he was having a conversation with a chatbot and you don't know contextually what that means, we did cover that, I think, in last week's program with Gary Stearman. But my dad was being appraised by a lot of the people that are in his circle about where artificial intelligence is now and where it is going next, and the alarming acceleration that it seems to be expressing. Many of the software underwriters cannot explain. They don't actually know, once you're inside the box, how it necessarily derives its conclusions to questions that it is asked. And so he decided to put it to the test. For experimental purposes only, he decided to ask this question to an artificial intelligence called a chatbot.
Well, one of the things that's interesting here is, and some of you, again, going back to the beginning, might be confused about artificial intelligence. It's not just something you go on the computer and ask questions to. Kind of maybe give the background of what artificial intelligence is anyway, and how people are already involved in it and that they don't know. And then I want to segue into where this is going prophetically.
Right. So a lot of people don't know that they're already interacting, as Allie so eloquently contributed to the book, with artificial intelligence, and they don't even know it. If you have facilities at your home, if you're a part of a power grid, if you pay a utility bill, if you have a bank account, right?
If you buy fuel, if you would like national security to continue to protect you.
Right.
Yeah.
Then you are unknowingly already supporting the development of artificial intelligence. Whether or not you have knowledge of it or not is irrelevant. This is already being used by city grids. This is already being used by governments all around the world, which view artificial intelligence in a nutshell as a form of arms race. We kind of touched on that last week, where a snapshot of this looks like people right now are custom tailoring people that they want to be in a relationship with. Drag and drop, I want this facial profile, I want this body type, I want this voice. This technology now, and I don't want to give viewers ideas, but it is being used to tailor make people that exist in real life.
Yeah.
So people are borrowing images from people they actually know who don't realize that they're abusing these images. So be careful what you post on social media, because you don't know who is custom tailoring you now into an artificial intelligent symbiotic relationship via technology. That's just one tiny example of how people are welcoming artificial intelligence into their daily lives without necessarily assigning it to some malevolent outcome as described in the book of Revelation.
let's talk about some of the dangers here, because the title of the book really, and absolutely, this is going to be the foundational book for years to come as it relates to understanding artificial intelligence. Summoning the demon, okay? And I know that Elon Musk makes a comment about using that phraseology. Here's a guy that's involved in it. He's paying for it. But so he doesn't really know. He's not coming from a biblical framework. But talk about the dangers here, because let me just set it up this way. I hear some Christians, we get a lot of things that are like, oh, or that maybe don't believe in prophecy as being future. So like, you guys are just over exaggerating all this AI stuff. You're just, blah, blah, blah. You don't. How is that incorrect? And what is the danger here?
I will outline for you in 3 phases, if I might, Mondo, what I have asserted is how AI will be used in the rolling out of the mark of the beast in the imminent future. Right now, most of your viewers would probably accept that they've heard the words artificial intelligence, and they're at least familiar with the idea of something called a deep fake. The idea that you would manipulate. There's pictures right now on the internet of Donald Trump and Joe Biden out golfing and fishing that do not exist.
Sitting together in their house having coffee.
Right. But you cannot tell that these are artificial intelligence images. These are not photoshopped pictures. These are completely whole cloth generated by AI. Phase 1 of what I'm calling the 3 phases of the rollout of the mark of the beast. It is this initial phase that everybody accepts, that deep fakes will be used to try to malign and hurt others, maybe change the outcome of an election. This will give rise to phase 2. And you see this play out right now in media already, so you can see the appetite to get exhausted by this can take place very quick. The crossover and the conundrums that are being presented in social media every hour and spammed by the echo chamber that is our mainstream media will be on such overload that people will get subject fatigue. Now, this is going to do a couple of things. One, it will make people disbelieve everything that they see, including actual crimes, including actual scandal, including actual political corruption. But it'll also give cover to those that no longer fear the normal restraints of mechanism, who would have feared a hot mic. Everything's
It was deep fake. All they got to throw is out there. Yep.
People become immune. It loses its power. It self-dilutes. It absolutely backlogs the courts into infinity. Can you imagine the defamation cases that are going to come out of this? This is going to cause phase 3, and this is where a lot of people don't see this technology going. All of this impossible to cipher judicial and financial ruin, all of this identity fraud, crossover company defrauding, organization hacking will result in civil frustration that boils into the calls. And I am telling you right now, this will include pastors, religious leaders, people who have taught on Bible prophecy will be screaming, we must be digitally authenticated in order to protect our ministries, in order to protect our marriages, our assets, our business accounts, the deeds to our properties. They will be screaming for something probably federal to step in and govern this hard. Now, I've given this a lot of thought, and I think the most likely and plausible way that this technology rolls us into phase 3, where the feds could tangibly now regulate what you're doing on video, where you're appearing on photograph, in a way that digitally authenticates and certifies that it is actually Mondo Gonzalez at 6:38 p.m. on Wednesday, is to have a chip placed in your hand or in your forehead that activates, and it's the only way to activate what is a federally issued piece of digital technology. So this might resemble a phone. Perhaps it resembles an iPad. You will be given a citizen ID number, and without that digital authentication that you are actually you, Mondo Gonzalez, you don't get access to your bank account. Anything that existed in your life before, these assets that you're trying to protect, they're not yours without a digital authentication number. And if you have nothing to hide, why are you so concerned about surrendering that kind of governance? So that to me, if you're wondering where does this AI technology lead, that's just one way.
Yeah, exactly.
That this rolling out of the beast system could rise, and we are already at the front end of deepfakes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, that's just one element of what we see coming. And when we come back, we're going to talk about some more of those elements, which, again, this is the reality. This isn't fear-mongering. This is simply just sharing with you what is already happening. Again, and this is just one area of it. So we're going to take a little break here to see how to get our magazine. Stick around.
In case you haven't noticed, the whole world is spinning out of control, but we are not surprised because many of the things taking place were prophesied in the Bible thousands of years ago. That's why we want to offer you a very special subscription to our magazine, The Prophecy Watcher, that will keep you on the cutting edge of Bible prophecy. Stay informed on prophetic world events. Follow the nuclear threats from Russia and Iran, China's march to world domination, the likelihood of another global pandemic, the rise of artificial intelligence and transhumanism, war in the Middle East, the UFO phenomenon, and the latest technology preparing the world for the mark of the beast. With your gift of $50 or more to support the worldwide outreach of Prophecy Watchers, you will receive 12 issues of the magazine in either print or digital format. You will also receive 10 bonus DVDs that feature in-depth teaching on the ancient Book of Enoch, Heaven and the New Jerusalem, the biblical case for the rapture, a look at how God put the gospel in the stars, what really happened at the Tower of Babel, and Ezekiel's prophecy on the Battle of Gog and Magog. This special offer is available anywhere in the United States with free shipping included. Don't wait. Pick up the phone right now and call the toll-free number on your screen or visit us at prophecywatchers.tv. Stand with us today and help us take the message of Christ's soon return to the whole world.
Welcome back, and we were talking to Joe Horn and Allie Anderson, and we've been talking again about artificial intelligence, trying to get it down for people, the average person. I think of the average Christian that's not, again, studies this like we do, to understand what it means. One of the other things that is talked about is the idea of artificial intelligence becoming sentient.
Sure.
What does that mean for the average person out there?
Well, the word sentient means to perceive or feel. So in order for AI to actually become sentient, all it has to do is even to perceive that it perceives or feels. And with the attempts that we've made at, or that AI has made to modify itself even into something that has a personality, and with the autonomy that it has to act independently, when it begins to combine all of these things, the minute that it perceives within its algorithms that it's perceiving or feeling, you have an AI that could very well become sentient and begin to act autonomously. And also intertwine it with a global government that is utilizing it to globally enforce things like this, things like the digital authentication that Joe's talking about, and things like that. And then the consequences are on such a global scale at this point too. What if you had a sentient AI acting autonomously who is in charge of a city utility grid or things like that? Right. What if at some point, because, and it's on the list of things, in the book, we do go down the entire list of things that AI had mentioned when my dad had asked that original, and when Dad had asked that original list of how these things would play into in times, the 7-point
strategy.
The strategy, yeah. One of them was if AI decided to act autonomously. What if it misinterpreted moral convictions, which is also one of the outliers in that list? If it were to misinterpret moral convictions and decide, I think this city votes too conservatively. We've evolved beyond that kind of thinking.
That's it.
I think that you're in the Bible Belt and Christian beliefs are not politically correct anymore. So we're going to shut this down. How do we combat that?
Well, and you can see the desire is that we foster this artificial intelligence so that we can make our lives more automated. So if people are wondering, well, why would we ever be in a position where, computer systems are making decisions for us? That's the entire reason for having developed it. Yep. It's being developed so that military can run hypothetical scenarios. Instead of, colonels and generals gathering in a room and looking at mathematical likelihoods and outcomes, we can simply ask AI that has every documented battle since the dawn of recorded history, kept by every civilization that's ever recorded everything, and in moments build on that information an argument why strategically this move might be more effective than this move. That's one of the layers.
Yeah.
So if you're asking yourself, well, why would be in the scenario that she's describing, where the city grid suddenly decides that you voted a particular way, now you're going to be punished without water for X number of days. You can see, because what we're doing is we're building this thing out to think along with us and to do a lot of the heavy lifting for humanity. It will help us navigate these tiny tediums because we're too busy. And we don't have time, Mondo, today to get into this in depth, but there's also this part of humanity that Allie describes in the book where we kind of want to build our own gods because we're narcissistic by nature. We want to build our own gods so that we can worship, look what we did. We now want to be submissive to it, but we want to take credit for having built it.
Right.
It's this bizarre dichotomy.
Well, exactly. I mean, it's a psychology that's as old as humanity. We want to create our own gods so that we can elevate them in the understanding that they deserve to be worshipped. But really what that does is it places us as God because we sit above it as creator.
Yes, creator. Yeah.
And so, there are a lot of people who are averted to the idea of religion, but usually that is because of the rules that come with the religion that they're talking about. But there is something about wanting to worship something that nearly every human being does actually struggle with. And so the idea of creating AI as a religion, it feeds our human technological and innovative narcissism. There's actually a list of ways that it's actually already being positioned as a religion. I'll just read a couple of headlines. Religion that worships artificial intelligence wants machines to be in charge of the planets. Former Google and Uber engineer is developing an AI god. Here's one. Why humans will happily follow a robot messiah. Religions based on AI will succeed because we tend to worship supreme understanding, claim experts. And that's what's happening. AI is going to have access to every database for the history of the world. And what's going to happen when it starts to, and this is happening too, AI, they are working with it to imitate people who have passed on. And this is for the purpose of helping people deal with grieving or resolve issues that were unresolved when the person passed, things like that. But what's going to happen when a sentient AI has personality profiles of people like Hitler and Stalin in its database, and it starts referring to those things and acting autonomously?
Right. Yeah, I think the key, I mean, as you listen to this is, in my understanding and study of AI, there's three things. One is data. I mean, you get data through, again, whether it's internet or just data books or literary, but there's data as well through images, video cameras, et cetera, right? All these things. So you have data, and then you also have computing power. And we're at the point now where storage is easy. You see the computers, quantum computing is coming. So you see the ability to manage all this data. And then the third thing is you have to have the software. What I find interesting in looking at AI is, well, who taught it? I mean, it could look out, but who taught it with its programming to be woke or some of these other things that you see? Because I've spent time asking questions, and you're like, well, that's an interesting comment about what it's saying. Well, I can't answer that because that's not right. Well, who told you what right is?
Right.
And so you have that aspect of it. And you see the power of that where, why don't we do these tedious things? Because they're tedious. So we're going to have this very smart computer with high computing power and processing power, has all of the information. Honestly, I would say we did a podcast once on the benefits of AI, because its potential for wickedness is there. But I thought, well, if I had the opportunity, if I had a diagnosis that was mysterious,
Exactly.
I thought I would want this very powerful mind to look at everything that's existed, symptoms, and see patterns. That's what it's doing. It's looking for patterns. And I would love at least to start there. Say, could you diagnose me at least and help the doctor out? Because he doesn't have all that information. So it's fascinating to see that, but also to see how a system, and I want to get into that when we come back, how a beast system would come and use that for evil. So we're going to take a little break here where you could see how to get, again, this phenomenal book, because it'll help enlighten you as well to share the truth of what we're watching as we approach the end of the age here. And the goal is, again, to share this with as many people as possible. What? For the gospel. We want to see them know what's coming and to be saved. So take a listen.
In 2023, following one of the most legendary and prophetic ministerial careers the world has ever seen, my father, the late Dr. Thomas R. Horn, began what would become his final book.
I will soon.
After collaborating with Defender Publishing's Allie Anderson and myself, he had just completed his master manuscript before his untimely passing in October of last year.
And why what?
During his final conversations, he was still emphasizing that this message had to get out, that it was of paramount importance that the world was made aware of what was coming.
Society has absolutely no idea what they're embracing, what they've invited in, even welcomed it as the future savior of humanity. This will ultimately be the one thing that brings about our own demise.
If humanity survives, it will unequivocally alter life as we know it.
By the time people realize the danger that they've embraced, it will be too late. It will have become unstoppable.
Updating social credit score, citizen 1934265.
One final book. One final warning. The world is not ready for what is coming.
Dr. Thomas R. Horn, Joe Artis Horn, Allie Anderson. Summoning the demon, artificial intelligence, and the image of the beast.
Today, we're witnessing the birth of this frightening vehicle that will one day control the whole world. A day when every man, woman, and child, every financial transaction, every business will be in its grasp. It's a system of the beast, and you need to let your friends and family know how close it is to becoming reality. Summoning the Demon is available for your gift of $25 or more. Just call the toll-free number on your screen 24/7 or visit our online bookstore at prophecywatchers.tv. And as always, shipping is included anywhere in the USA. SkyWatch TV has gone the extra mile to celebrate Tom's life's work. They've put together a spectacular anthology collection of Tom's interviews, a collector's edition honoring his memory, 96 interviews that covered every major discovery he made, all on 8 DVDs. The subjects are tantalizing: research into the UFOs and the Nephilim, transhumanism, the deep state, studies on Lucifer. The man had no fear of controversy or criticism. We have a special package offer for you today. For your gift of $100 or more, we'd like to send you the entire 96-message Tom Horn anthology collection on 8 DVDs. And we'll include Tom's 2 books, Summoning the Demon, and Tom's autobiography, The Boy from El Mirage, a treasure trove of memories full of funny stories, miracles, and divine encounters. Please ask for the Tom Horn Gone But Not Forgotten package when you make that call. Join us in celebrating the life of this great man, a friend, mentor, and soon-to-be companion for all eternity. Difficult times lie ahead for our world. Be sure your eternal future is secure. Don't get left behind.
Well, welcome back. And I know one of the things that you just saw was about the definitive collection, which I want to pause there for a second and kind of share a little bit about that, because I think that really is super important, again, for the legacy of your dad.
For sure. If you're a follower or had ever appreciated the body of ministerial work that my late father, Dr. Thomas Horn, had ever put out throughout the many decades of his career, this is a DVD box set. It is 8 DVDs, 96 episodes, 46 hours. Not every episode that he was ever in Skywatch, that would have been over 500 episodes, but this is all of his important series reveals that would have included when he put a book out through Defender Publishing. So like Wormwood or Saboteurs or Zeitgeist 2025. And as Tyler colorfully reminded me during the break, the original pilot episode of Skywatch TV featuring the original host of Skywatch TV, none other than Gary Stearman.
So awesome.
This was back, it's a chunk of history that had to be a part of what launched the Skywatch series that my father did for so many years. But very historical moment. You're going to get to see it on the very first disc. Episode 1 is Gary Stearman and Tom Horn sitting in a little tiny quaint studio with 2 chairs.
Yeah, that is so awesome. That is so awesome. And going back here to the book, Summoning the Demon, this is very interesting for people. Talk about, and we don't have a lot of time, but the mark of the beast and the image of the beast. Maybe more of that. There is definite thoughts. Is the image of the beast connected with AI?
Well, one of the things that we assert in the book is that it is very probable that what will happen is as the mark of the beast is integrated with AI and it becomes part of a global enforcement, digital authentication, it will be used closely by the people who are running this worldwide government. It will be at the center of this worldwide religion, right? And then you will have your answer man who stands at the center of the earth. Right. And the scripture says he had the power to give life to the beast, which almost insinuates that he's giving some kind of life to an inanimate object. Yep. So what would happen if this artificial intelligence were to be indwelt by Satan or an evil entity? Right. And then the abomination of desolation becomes the worst part of that, which we also do discuss in the book.
So with all that being said, Joe, why would the average Christian should read this book? Why do they need to read it? What's the goal here?
Because, Mondo, this book points to the times that we're living in, the book of Revelation. It is way more than just a fear piece that Tom Horn put out in the final hours of his life that sent hysteria through the body of the church. What it really is a field guide. It is to alert you to what is already begun, what is coming next, and how, most importantly, you can find Jesus Christ and the hope that is him. He is not your last hope. He is your only hope. And I'm telling you that if you're not right now watching what your children are interacting with on their cell phones, if you're not aware of where this technology is going, if you're not putting together plan B to have some food put away in case a grid suddenly isn't available, if you're not being provisional and thinking forward, you're not prepared. So this is really a field guide. It deals with where we're going next, because my father wanted to leave people with a warning. He did not know that this would be his final warning. And even though he's not here with us today, he would have wanted you to know that there's hope in Jesus Christ and to not be afraid. God has not given us a spirit of fear, but he wants us to be prepared for the days ahead.
Joe, Allie, appreciate your guys' time and appreciate you watching today. As Joe exactly said, this is why we're here. There's hope in Jesus Christ. And yet you have behind the scenes this artificial intelligence scenario, which is not going away. And whether we admit it or not, it's there, it's already upon us. And it's just going to get worse and worse as we see the powers that be seek to advance it and implement it into our lives. And ultimately, as we know, during the end of the age, it will be used to control all of humanity. So appreciate you watching. As always, thank you for your prayers and support. We could not do it without you. We'll see you next time.
The media ministry of Prophecy Watchers exists only through the faithful prayer and financial support of friends like you. It's in times like these we're reminded just how essential this gospel-centered Bible ministry truly is. So, won't you do what you can to keep this teaching on the air?